Alright guys, welcome back to another Patreon request, and this one comes from Wolfman Thomas. Excuse me, the name got away from me. So yeah, Wolfman Thomas asked me to do kind of like in the vein of DC meets Looney Tunes, the series of one-shot crossovers, like these weird out there DC superheroes meeting the Looney Tunes characters. But this time, it's the DC superheroes meeting Cartoon Network characters. Something that could actually still happen, because I don't think IDW has the comic rights to the Cartoon Network characters. I think it's back with them. So that's basically what the video is. Also, if anyone's asking, no, this is not a Willy's Wonderland shirt. This is a shirt of Buc-ee's, and I'm pretty sure all of you from Texas, a lot of you, everyone from Texas is like, oh, I know what that is. Like, everyone from Texas and Georgia, like, oh, Buc-ee's, it's the Disneyland of gas stations. So, yeah, Buc-ee's shirt. Yep. We only got one in Florida, and it's all out in Daytona, of all places. You'd think it'd be Orlando, but we're not here to talk about that. So let's get started. So this is like a series of one-shot collected like one-and-done stories, much like in the vein of DC meets Looney Tunes. So our first story that we're going to do is basically, the idea is that it is Superman and Dexter's Laboratory. So Superman in Dexter's Laboratory is basically this fun little story of Dexter. More or less, what happens is that Dexter is discovered by Lex Luthor. And Luthor, seeing the genius this boy has at the science fair, like, Luthor just went like, oh god, I have to attend this, like, school charity fund, and then, if for this science fair, it's a good tax write-off, whatever, I'll amuse myself with the peons. But then when he sees Dexter and his work, he's like, hey, come work for LexCorp. And Dexter, of course, is like, work for Lex Luthor? That's amazing! He just knows that Lex is a brilliant mind. He doesn't know that he's like full on like, let's kill Superman. So essentially what the story is that Dexter's building more robots for Luthor to use against Superman. And that's the crux of the story, is that Dexter is more or less conned into, and just to show how brilliant he is to Lex Luthor, is building more and more dangerous robots to combat Superman. So there you go. Our next story is, in this little cavalcade is Mxyzptlk and the Amazing World of Gumball. So in this story, Gumball is reading, like, a Superman comic, and he's like, Superman's dumb, I hate it, like, he's just this big, boring blue boy scout, you know, Batman's where it's at. And Mxyzptlk's like, time out, motherfucker! And they even, like you're probably wondering, well, why is Mxyzptlk being so angry about, you know, having someone badmouth Superman? He doesn't like Superman either. And it's like, well, Gumball makes fun of not just Superman, but everyone in there, including Mxyzptlk. And Mxyzptlk hears this in the fifth dimension and basically shows up on Elmore in the Amazing World of Elmore and is like, you motherfucker, you want to mess with me? And if I could do this comic, I would make like the Gilbert Godfrey 90s cartoon Superman Mxyzptlk in here. So Mxyzptlk, more or less like, oh, you think you're so cool, huh? Well, how about I just alter your world even more? And he's just, like, changing the world, like, making it, like, instead of, like, amazing and all these cool, fantastic items, he's making it, like, boring and generic and things like that. And so Gumball and Darwin and the whole Watterson family have to stop Mxyzptlk from just completely decimating their, Elmore. Next up, we have, in our next story, we have Lobo and Ed Nettie. And now you're already thinking, Lobo meets Ed Nettie? What in the great good fuck are you thinking? Well, let me explain. The story starts is that Lobo is chasing after a alien who he's been hired to hunt down, because this alien stole a lot of money from a gang boss who Lobo hires to get that money back, and also bring that little bat snitch back to, dead, preferably. So Lobo's chasing this guy, and he crash lands on Earth. Lobo shoots him, and he crash lands on Earth, and not just anywhere. He crash lands in Peach Creek. The problem is this alien, like, you may be thinking, oh, we already got an alien, this is really cool, but how do Ed, Edd, and Eddy play into this? Well, the problem is this alien looks very familiar, in that it looks like the monster that Ed looked like. Now, this wouldn't be a problem in that one episode. Now, this would be a problem, but Eddie has gotten the idea to make a new monster movie and bring back the Ed monster for, like, shooting a movie to con everyone to watch again, because he made so much money during that last time they made a movie. He's like, why not do it again? We'll make a kaiju movie. It'll be great. So, as they're doing this, the alien scampers off, and they discover the crash site, and, of course, Double D's like, I don't believe this is real. This has to be like a movie set or a prank or something. And then Eddie sees, like, these gems and whatever, and that's the money that he stole. He's like, space gems, moolah, money, mine. And this is the time when Lobo shows up and is ready to frag some people. And, of course, when he sees Ed in the costume, shit gets completely insane. Anyway... So that's the story of Lobo meets Ed, Edd, and Eddy. In our next story, we have Samurai Jack and Kamandi. Samurai Jack is taking a boat trip to a lost continent in Aku's land, and it's like a forbidden zone. Reason being is because the Beastmen have taken over, and Jack encounters Kamandi and they go on an adventure. It's pretty much like a cut and dry, like Kamandi and Jack are going on an adventure together. Next up is the Powerpuff Girls and Wonder Woman, because you have to have that. You would have to have Wonder Woman meets the Powerpuff Girls. Like, they've already technically met in that commercial that featured Aquaman, that Super Friends Powerpuff Girl crossover. But in this story, the Powerpuff Girls are essentially are seeing, like, this weird trend of all the men in Townsville are acting like animals. They're acting like straight up animals, and they think it's Mojo. And Mojo does play a part in this, but it's not just his science that's causing this. It's also Cersei's magic. Yeah, we have a team up between Cersei and Mojo in here, and when they find out it's Cersei, and they're not the best at combating magic, they're like, put out a call to Wonder Woman! So Wonder Woman arrives, and of course the girls are just like, Wonder Woman, it's our freaking hero! It's Wonder Woman! And as an added bonus, I really wanted this to be like Linda Carter's 70s Wonder Woman that shows up, because that would just be icing on the cake. Anyway, so in our final story, we have Batman and Craig of the Creek. And in this story, it's not so much about Batman, it's more about Killer Croc. You see, Croc has broken out of Arkham, and he escaped deep into the sewers, and was, during a fight with Batman, was wounded. He fell into the sewers and went down several pipes and got spat out in the creek. He got spat out in the creek miles away from Gotham. And basically, Craig and his friends encounter Killer Croc. They know who he is, but they feel so bad for him. They're like, we gotta help him. We gotta help nurse him back to health. And Croc bonds with the kids, and then Batman shows up. Croc is like, I don't, Croc and Batman have a fight, and eventually, Croc is forced back to Arkham, but Craig and the kids, the Creek, basically tell Croc, we'll write to you in Arkham. And I wanted to have at the end, I think it would be fun if I could do the stories, like at the end of the story, Croc is like in his Arkham cell, reading the letters from Craig and Kelsey and everyone else, as Batman's watching outside his lair. Outside his cell. So there you go. There's just a few fun, random ideas for DC Cartoon Network crossovers that we probably will not get, because some damn reason, I feel like they would have done that had the DC Hanna-Barbera comics sold more, because they never put the other comics in trade. Because, yeah, the second they did another volume of the Looney Tunes DC crossovers, but they never... I guess they didn't sell well enough to put them in trade. Same with the Hanna-Barbera ones. I don't know the whole story of that. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this story? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And once again, thank Wolfman Thomas for this story. For this Patreon request. As always, if you want to join my Patreon, click the link below and hit the 4th tier and leave me requests, which I will post here on YouTube. But other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.